This woman put cat poop in the bread and gave it to her husband. Her husband grabbed it and ate it without noticing any problems. Marcy felt both terrified and happy. As it turns out, she had been a long-term victim of domestic abuse. Every time Sam shouted for a sandwich, Marcy had to rush to the kitchen to make one. Sam spent the whole day watching TV and doing nothing. Marcy finally got a chance to catch her breath and hurried to the utility room to knit a sweater. But within a few minutes, Sam's orders came again. Marcy was furious and she poured detergent on the lunch meat. Surprisingly, her husband still ate it without noticing anything unusual. The next time, Marcy looked at the broken glass on the floor. After a moment of hesitation, she added the broken glass to the sandwich. However, Sam continued to bite into the sandwich without realizing there was glass in it. Even though his mouth was bleeding, he felt nothing. Marcy felt a sense of wonder and a sense of revenge at the same time. In the blink of an eye, Sam turned into a skeleton with a mound of moldy sandwiches beside him. As it turns out, Sam had been dead for a long time, but Marcy had turned her fear into PTSD. Check this out. Jack pulls something out of his ear, which freaks him out so much that he becomes the 5th emoji in your phone. Suddenly, his buddy walks in, says not to worry, and then opens his skull, yanking out a sausage. Then he whips out a knife. Oh my god. Hundreds of ants spill out. The next day, Jack goes to work, and the boss kindly teaches him how to type. Suddenly, he notices a hole in the back of his head. He shows some fries, but it gets snatched right in. When he tries to retrieve them, a blob of slime shoots out. Angry as hell, he grabs a flashlight and sees the monster with its babies. Unable to stand the cries, he straight up fires Jack. After Jack heads home, he looks in the mirror and falls in love with himself. So, he starts cuddling with the mirror. And when he realizes it, the mirror is already pregnant and gives birth to a crystal baby. Gotta admit, this director's imagination is seriously off the charts, but there's all sorts of metaphors in there. If you get it, drop a comment and spill the beans.
Check it out. This rich guy goes to an art show, falls in love with a painting, and decides he's gotta have it. Even though people around him are like, dude, the artist isn't famous yet, maybe it's not worth that much. But he doesn't care and drops 10 grand to buy it. Here's the crazy part, he never looks at the painting after buying it. Fast forward a few years, he decides to auction it off. Everyone's thinking, who's gonna buy it for big bucks when he already paid a ton? But guess what? The painting sells for $1 million at the auction. People are amazed by his supposedly great taste. Now, he says he's feeling charitable and donates the painting. You might think, wow, what a generous guy. Nope, he bought it for 10 grand, worked some tricks with the auction house to hype it up, turned it into $1 million deal, got a huge tax deduction, and basically came out on top in the end. Got the story now?
This man finds a QR code on the woman's back. He scans it and uncovers some horrifying secret. Last night at the hotel, the doorbell rang like crazy. He gets up, peeps through the peephole, and sees a smoking hot chick. It must be some sort of special service. So, he heads back to bed. But dang, that doorbell won't quit. He opens the door. Lady, I ain't interested. But she calls him hubby and waltzes in with her suitcase. Dude's confused as heck. How could I not recognize my own wife? On second look, she kinda resembles her, but his wifey's all sweet and domestic. It's their anniversary, but dude's out for a business trip, and she's cool about it. But faced with the woman's advances, dude eventually caves. What a jerk. Next morning, dude's lying there, pondering his life choices, when he notices something odd about the woman's body. This woman's got a QR code on her back. Is it a payment code? Zhang scratching his head, then his wife calls. He starts spinning some lies, but his wife drops a bomb. She's the one who bought that woman over. Zhang is so shocked that he turns into your phone's second emoji. Then his wife drops this bombshell. The woman is actually her clone. Scan the code. So, he shuffles back to bed, scans the thing and sees a message from his wife, saying she got him a custom-made clone wife for this month-long business trip. Dude can do whatever the heck he wants with her. So, they're getting along all chill and stuff. The clone wife's even more outgoing and cool, making Zhang feel like he's back on his honeymoon. But fast forward a month, he gets a text. By 9 a.m. tomorrow, his clone wife's getting recalled. But if he's into the clone war, they can swap her with the original. Whoa, didn't see that coming. Staring at this seemingly perfect clone wife, dude makes up his mind. You have two wives. One wife's gentle, while another's got this killer voice and sex appeal. Who would you choose? Well, Zhang ends up sticking with his original wife. Next morning, the clone wife gets hauled away by some men in black. But Zhang's got no say in the matter. But when Zhang gets home, his wife's nowhere to be found. Just a note telling him to take his meds on time. He pops the pills and sees a stack of postcards, one even signed by him. Thing is, he never wrote any of them. Then, his head starts spinning, and he collapses. Two men in black broke in and toss him in a car. Inside, he catches a glimpse of his wife chilling with some dude who looks exactly like him. Turns out, His wife got herself a clone husband too, and she ditched the original for the clone.
This woman was waiting for the bus and had her water break, shocking others around. Her water also breaks when she's at work. Her colleagues suggested she have the baby, but she was afraid of losing her job and refused. When there was no room, a man used her water to wash hands. The boss was so impressive, so he promoted her and gave her a raise. To keep this job, the woman persisted for 40 years, until retirement, finally able to give birth. In the hospital, the woman's painful cries revealed the unexpected truth. A 400-pound, 40-year-old baby was born. They both ended up moving into a nursing home together.
This woman was pregnant for 13 years, her belly got huge like a sack of potatoes, and even if the baby just moved a bit, it hurt like hell. Although her daughter already learned to talk and said she wanted to come out, she still didn't want to give birth. Turns out, when she first got pregnant, her husband had to go on a trip suddenly. He gave her a jar with herbs to delay birth, hoping to be there when the baby was born. So she kept eating those herbs every day. But after 13 years, only one herb was left, and she ran out of food too. Suddenly, she heard something and thought her husband was back, but it was just a cat. Not having meat for 13 years, she hit the cat and brought it home to eat. Then she realized she was out of herbs and felt terrible pain. Finally, her daughter burst through her spine and took over her body, planning to live inside her forever. So here she is, now actually her own daughter. When the husband returned, she lied about that there was a miscarriage and showed the scars. He felt so guilty and wanted to have another child. Will she succeed this time in giving birth?
A mouse pointer is wandering around the woman's leg. As the man clicks, the woman's body has reaction, nearly making a sound. The man's finger rubs up and down, making the woman squirm. She takes off her glasses, feels so hot that she unbuttons her shirt. The man gradually increases the speed of his hand, while observing the woman's movement. Eventually, unable to take it anymore, she rushes out of the room in panic. The man quickly shuts down the computer screen, afraid of being discovered by colleagues. His name is David, a designer in this company. One day, he suddenly realizes that his mouse pointer can extend beyond the screen. When the mouse moves on the computer, the pointer can freely switch between the computer screen and the real world. He moves the mouse from the wall to a glass of water and clicks the button. The glass topples over, leaving David astonished. Noticing the reduced salary on the leave slip, David moves the mouse to the paper and makes alterations on the computer. The wording on the leave slip is changed to indicate that the company is planning to reward him with a few $1,000s.
This old man uses pins on his neck to tighten the wrinkled skin on his face. He then applies ink to make his teeth look white. His goal is to disguise himself as a young man to date the young woman of his dreams. To achieve this, he took out the eyeballs from a doll to replace his dark blurry eyes. He paints his skin, uses powder to look younger, and colors his mustache black with a stamp. Finally, he wears a wig but realizes he still hunches over. To stand straight, he uses an electric shock to energize his body successfully. He eventually transforms into a handsome young man and meets the woman. They spend time together, but he starts feeling tired and his bones ache. Her dog becomes suspicious, sniffing him all the time. A bumpy road almost makes the pin in his neck come loose. Surprisingly, the woman sneezes, and her makeup comes off, revealing her as an old woman. The man is shocked, and then his own makeup falls off, revealing he's also an old man.